I was in good shape. I was preparing to run a 100-mile race. I had done an Ironman. I was, doing bodybuilding type stuff. I was running a business. But looking back, I was white knuckling my life. I was getting up and drinking 5 cups of coffee and just drive, but it wasn't flowing, right? So got that situated. That was when I was 49. I am 60 now, right? So I've been doing it for 11 years and it completely changed my life.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Tribe of Millionaires podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Gruber. My job is to dissect peak performance through conversations with the most successful people on earth with the goal of making this tribe your tribe. My guest today, Rami Odeh. Coach Rami is a motivational speaker, author, personal trainer, nutritional coach, triathlete, entrepreneur, and his life mission is to positively affect the lives of as many people as he can using coaching, speaking, and his 3 volumes of his published books, Quiet the Noise, A Trail Runner's Path to Hearing God. Rami, Coach Rami, welcome.
What's up, brother? How are you?
I'm good. Do I call you Coach Rami? Like, is that an insistent thing on your part?
You can call me sir. You can call me, dad, whatever you want, man. Whatever you're comfortable with, Jamie.
A fact that you shared with me that I've never heard anyone ever before share is that you are a double D on disc. Double D on disc. What the hell does that mean?
I know. It's funny. I was talking to my wife about it last night because she doesn't believe me. And I'm like, I never said it. The therapist said it. So basically, you're either like a DI or an ID or whatever, right? And so my D was so overwhelmingly powerful that she's like, you are an I, but your D overwhelms it. So I'm calling you the first double D in history. So I take that as a compliment. My wife, not so much.
We'll see. We'll explore that. How has that, with what you have in your life, how has being a double D served you being where you are right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like everything, like a lot of our stuff drives from pain and history and all that. So, I'm one of those, I've never dealt with depression, but I've dealt with chronic anxiety my whole life, right? Jump right into that. And I made it a superpower. And that drive that I have, like we talked about, we'll talk about some of the things I've done athletically, all that kind of stuff. I use it as a superpower, right? And, if you do the Myers-Briggs too, I'm an ENTJ, which is also the rarest combination of personality profile. It's pretty funny. Like, I love this stuff. It's 1.8% of the population that level, and which is great sometimes and awful other times, right? So I think I'm trying to embrace my I, Jamie. So let's go away from my D and be more, introspective and intuitive. You can.
How do you go away? You can't go away from double D. It's just a great cup size. But can you talk about, describe what you mean by chronic anxiety? How does that manifest?
Yeah. And I think I've been, my intro to Gobundance, a year and a half ago when I did the Bulls versus Bears, I literally humbled myself in my first sentence. We were talking about testosterone, Bulls versus Bears. I'm a big bull. We know that, right? And I said, like,
on testosterone replacement.
On testosterone replacement. Yeah, exactly. And I opened by saying, look, I was brought into this world 12, 13 years ago, not because I wanted to build muscle. I was already a coach. I was doing Ironmans. Like I was that pillar I'm doing pretty well in. But I've had like anxiety and lack of peace of mind my whole life, right? Always would wake up worried, even when there was nothing to worry about. Like, and I thought that was normal, by the way, Jamie. Like, I thought everybody woke up like that until it got so bad in like 2007. I think I knew the impending recession was coming. That's what I tell people. I'm so smart, right? And I got to the point of panic attacks, right? Like literally, and if you've ever had one, it's awful, right? Like literally like you're having a heart attack. And by the way, I'm a health coach. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't doing a lot of caffeine. I was a triathlete. Like I was doing everything, sleeping 8 hours a night, and I went to a psychiatrist and the first thing he said is, have you checked your testosterone? And that's what brought me into that world. And by the way, I battled him for 2 years, didn't do it. Like, I'm like, there's no way testosterone helps with anxiety. So for me, anxiety is that kind of underlying level of, I need to be doing something else, right? That feeling of like, I'm not doing enough. And by the way, I'm 1,000% better now than I was when I was 45, right? Because I'm 110 now. So I don't know if you knew that, but doing pretty well.
I would have put you about 108, but 110. Okay, got
it. So does that answer your question?
It does.
Right
So
that. Yeah.
No. I like what you just said. This is meaningful for me right now. I posted recently about waking up 4 a.m., 3 a.m. I'm just waking up and I don't feel a level of anxiety or stress, but I don't have anything else to describe it other than that. Meaning I wake up, my mind sometimes goes into excitement mode, like thinking about the next thing, or it goes into panic mode over things that aren't necessarily real or that are such a small percentage chance of happening. So it resonates with what you just said.
Sure.
How did testosterone, was it that you had low testosterone? Was that
Yeah.
is that a correlation?
And again, I'm a health coach and all about this stuff. I went to graduate school. Like, I understand the physiology of how testosterone works, but in my brain, it was bodybuilders. It was, building muscle. It was sex drive. It was drive in general, right?
Yeah.
I never equated it to anxiety and lack of peace of mind. And so I do this thing where I do my own research for like a year. Then I do my own experiment before I ever recommend it to a friend or a client, right? Like, I make myself an N of one. And again, I fought him. I'm like, no, what do you know? You only had 14 years of medical school. I know more than you, but so finally, like a year and a half in, I'm like, I tried everything. SSRIs, I freaking hated them. The side effects were awful. I literally like gave up drinking for 6 months. I gave up coffee. Like, I tried every meditation, everything, right? I had a good spiritual life. And so I finally went and got it tested. And at 48 or 49, I had the testosterone of an 80-year-old. And by the way, you would never have known it talking to me. I was in good shape. I had literally, let's see, that was 2007, 2008. I was preparing to run a 100-mile race. I had done an Ironman. I was, doing bodybuilding type stuff. I was running a business, whatever, right? But looking back, I was white knuckling my life. I was getting up and drinking 5 cups of coffee and just drive, but it wasn't flowing, right? And so got that situated. That was when I was 49. I am 60 now, right? So I've been doing it for 11 years, and it completely changed my life, bro. Completely changed.
Wow.
And I'm an advocate, but I'm not like a zealot or an ideology about it. I don't think it's for everybody. I don't think everybody needs it. I'm very concerned with these 27-year-old GoPros that are like, oh, my testosterone is only 800. I need it to be 1500 to be I'm like, no, dude, do not do that at 27, right?
Right.
Yeah. So anyway,
Okay.
somehow every conversation I have with Gobundance, by the way, goes to testosterone, from my first bulls versus bears, which I'm fine with. I obviously love talking about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Oh,
anyway.
but let's talk about this white knuckling. This is so you're what? You're 62?
60. No, I'll be 61 this year.
61.
So,
okay. Sorry.
Always like a little kid, isn't it? Like, how old are you? I'm going to be 52. Like, what are you, 5?
I love it.
Be 61. Yeah, I hope.
But I'm 44, and I'm trying to put myself into your shoes at that age. You were a few years older when all of this was taking place for you, right? But still,
49.
Same ballpark.
Yep.
And like you, I feel good. I feel like I have sex drive. I've been able to build muscle. We talked about carnivore and all that stuff, and we'll get into that. But that anxiety piece is there. And to your point, like white knuckling it, like I don't do the 5 cups of coffee, but man, it is like, let me get up early tomorrow and go. And my biggest fear is that I'm going to go to in 15 years, I'm going to look up and I will not have achieved my primary objectives, or things that I feel are the most fulfilling things for me in life. Has that been, since you've stopped white knuckling and since you've reprioritized, managing this anxiety and TRT and everything else, are you in a place now where you can honestly say 15 years ago, you've achieved your goals despite not white knuckling?
Interesting. That's a great question. I've actually never had that one on a podcast. And, it's funny. You announced that I've written a few books. I've actually written, 3 books on my own. One is a collaboration, and I'm starting, and actually did a really cool book that I'll tell you about later. But so I've done 5, and my next book is called It's going to be called It's Never Too Late. I should announce that on your podcast, because I know you're like Joe Rogan, like 11 million people are going to listen to this.
11, now 12.
Yeah, somebody's going to steal that title, but so the answer is no, right? And I really didn't start to hit my stride on the financial side of the world until 2019, and we can go into that detail of how that happened. Sure. So I'm literally feel like a baby at 60. So I've achieved the things that really matter. We've raised 2 great kids that are launching. I've stayed married for 23 years. To me, that's my biggest accomplishment, right? A lot of my friends have not. I'm in that place where my friends are on 2nd and 3rd marriages. I'm like, should we even have a wedding at this point, guys? Like, do we need to do that?
Right.
Yeah. And so, no, the answer is absolutely not. And like, I call retirement the R word. Like, I don't even like to say it. I want the ability to retire. Sure. Like, I could say I have that financial freedom, but I don't ever want to retire. Like, I love what I'm doing, and I guess you could call that success, right?
Of course. Yeah.
But financially, and it's a long story. I don't know. Hope this is a 9-hour podcast because my stories tend to go long, but you cut me off if you need to. But financially, I had a complete reset at age 55. So I had a complete restart. So we can go into that and
Let's
give you
do
the
it.
backstory.
What does that mean? A complete reset? Give me the circumstances and all of that, please.
Yeah, I'll do it fast because I've done it on 1,000 podcasts. I did it in 49 minutes one time. I did the whole thing. We won't do that, okay? Your listeners are going to be like shooting themselves like in the airplane movie, that scene where the guy's pouring the gasoline on his head.
Yeah,
That'll be all of you people. Just to give the backstory, like went to school in upstate New York. I was born in upstate, and I love calling it upstate. It was only 40 miles north of New York City, but grew up there. Went to school in true upstate New York. Oneonta, Delhi, if you know any of these names, little tiny
I went to
towns in
Oneonta,
New York.
SUNY Oneonta guy.
We've talked about this.
Yeah,
Isn't this
yeah.
crazy? Oh my
Yeah.
God, a whole nother podcast. But and then I went to RPI for grad school, right? So I stayed in upstate New York, and then I had my stint in the corporate world where I made it 3.5 years. So that's the only W-2 traditional job I've had. I've been an entrepreneur at heart since I was born. I tried to fit into it, hated it. Always loved exercise, always loved athletics. Like literally when I was in corporate, everybody was going to happy hour and I was going to train for triathlons, right? Like was the dichotomy. So I went back to graduate school at age 29 for exercise science. What I loved, right? I didn't even know you could have a career in it. Cut my teeth as a personal trainer. Actually met my wife in a gym, and I went to University of Miami for my second graduate degree. So got a master's degree in exercise science. Loved personal training, and we moved to Georgia. Did personal training every way you could possibly do it. I was a coach in people's homes and big gyms. Decided entrepreneurially, like, I don't want to do this. I want to run a gym, right? So I started my own gym in 1999. It really wasn't a thing back then. So there were only like 8 of them in all of Atlanta. Blew it up. We grew 30% a year for 8 years. I decided finally, you'll love this story, in 2008, early, I said, it's time for us to take the leap and expand, double our size, and wait till you hear this, buy a $1 million commercial building, which I bought in June of 2008. So I'm smiling now, Jamie. I wasn't smiling come 2009, 2010. I like to tell people I bought my commercial building the day the market peaked, not the year, the day. So
the moment. Yeah.
The moment. So we had an incredibly profitable business. We were doing over $1 million in revenue, which for a little personal training studio is a lot of money with 35% margins. So crushing it, right? Like, and I'm super frugal. We had it all nailed, moved to this building, and you know what happened next, right? October of 2008. And it really hit us. To be totally transparent, I was also having big challenges in my marriage. And looking back, like the economy for sure was a factor, right? These people were paying $500 a month to train in my gym. It was all personal training. But I also lost my mojo at the same time, right? Yeah. I also wrote some books and came into the church at the same time. So there's some really positive things as well. So I gutted it, white knuckled for 4 or 5 years, and got to the point. This is so funny. I tell this story and I can't even remember now why you asked me this story. So I love it. You'll have to bring me back online. Here's
We're
the
good.
ADHD.
This is I'm with you though. I'm rolling.
Okay,
Go
good.
For it.
So
yeah.
This is 2014. I finally basically give up. I'm gonna declare bankruptcy. I had used. You asked me about a hard reset. I did bring it back. So what did that mean? Everything was gone, Jamie. Retirement, Coverdale accounts, all our savings. I was paying people's, salaries. I hadn't taken a salary in 2 years. I was paying people's salaries out of my savings, right? The gym was doing 28,000. So we were doing $1 million in revenue, and now we're doing 28,000 a month in revenue. So 300,000 a year. We dropped 70%, and our fixed expenses were like 35,000 a month. So you do the math, right?
Yeah.
Building was worth 600,000 at that point. Okay, gone from $1 million, and we owed 800. Bad place, right? And again, my home, my support system was not there, right? Like, and there's no blame. This is not my wife's fault. Our marriage was just crumbling, and who knows why, right? So I'm a God guy, like kind of a God moment. My business mentor said, I want you to give this one more shot. I've got a guy that I think can really help you. And I'm like, really? Like, how am I going to pay this guy? Like, I'm not even paying myself. I took a leap. I took a loan to pay this guy, right? Took a line of credit. This was 2014. Took out 100 grand. So
Wow.
how I got that loan, by the way, I have no idea.
Wow.
Because,
Wow.
think of all those numbers, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm not only completely empty, now I'm 200,000 underwater. Our house was underwater, right? Because that whole thing happened, right? And now
Yeah.
I've taken out another $100,000 line of credit. So I'm a big risk taker, as you can tell, right? And I just believed in it still, but I was like, I had everybody in my life except my business mentor were telling me, dude, you're smart. You can go work at Northside Hospital and make, 150 a year and have health benefits and you'll be fine, which is a local hospital that I actually worked at part-time. So I took the leap, hired this guy, and in retrospect, he was good, but what he really did was he brought Rami back. He brought back my mojo. Fast forward, so this is end of 2014, I hired him. 2019, we're doing so well. We've quadrupled the business again, right?
Wow.
We're back, profitable, everything's good. We're about to open a second location. That's how much we were growing. And he just walks in my office and says, instead of the second location, my wife and I want to buy the gym, 100%. And
Wow.
I did not know I was ready for that moment until he said it. I felt this wave of, this is what I need to do, right? So I sold my business. So finally, Rami had some good timing based, you talked the building. I sold my business
COVID.
12 months before COVID,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which, gyms, praise God, we're in Georgia. We didn't get hit anywhere near like some of the other states did with the gyms. Like all the gyms did okay here. But I don't think, look, I can handle a lot. I have a high pain tolerance. After everything I've been through, if COVID hit, I would have been like, I'm out, man.
Yeah.
I got to move on to something else. So anyway, bought the business in 2019. And then, my goal at that point was to just go into consulting, public speaking, coaching, like you and I, like this, right?
Yeah.
Like virtual coaching and all that. And then we can talk more about kind of where I went from there. But that answers your question. It was a true hard reset.
Did you actually have to file? I didn't quite catch that. Did you
No, I
actually have to
didn't
file?
make it to bankruptcy. So praise God, I didn't have to go to that point.
Wow.
And so, but I was completely empty. My wife was empty. She had gotten a small inheritance when her mom passed away. That was gone. Like we
Wow.
went through everything.
I can't
And
imagine.
yeah, no, you really can't. And thinking, I mean, we had the people coming to the door because we weren't paying our mortgage, right? Like, which I've never done anything like that in my life, right? I've
Yeah.
never not paid a bill. I've just made it happen.
Yeah.
Like I never, I counted, I did 520 payrolls, right? In 20 years of owning the business, never missed one.
That's
Even at the
amazing.
times, yeah, even at the times when it was rough. I'm just not that guy, but we had no choice, right? Like,
Was the
yeah.
building a part of the sale to the
So I
new buyer?
sold the business and then I sold the building a year later. So it's kind of it was not to the same guy. He didn't want to buy it.
What was the value of the building when you sold it?
Over $1 million. So we had come back. So it was, think about that financially. It was worth 600. We owed 800 in 2014. It was worth a little over $1 million and we owed 500. So we
Nice.
walked away with, the whole sale was a little over $1 million. It wasn't a lot of money, but it was more than enough to give me a bridge to my next career.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was
Absolutely.
that's my hard reset,
Wow.
man. Yeah.
Wow. Is that path going back to your double D? Is that the shadow side of your double D? Is that the downside of being this like ultra driven guy that you got yourself into that situation, or no?
1000%. No, you nailed it. And look, one of the things I don't believe in is regret. So I'm not going to sit here and tell
I
you,
love that.
oh,
Yes.
I should have. Yeah, I don't believe in it at all because look, everything I did brought me to this moment right here. And I can't remember who said that. And that person said, and this moment is perfect. Right.
Yeah.
So I have zero regret about any of that. At the time, from a business standpoint, I should have walked away in 2017, but look where I ended up. And I don't think the rest of my life the trajectory would have been different. I'm sure it would have been fine, but where I've ended up now and finding my way to Gobundance, and now I'm a franchise consultant. Like I tell my buddy who owns the franchise, he's the CEO, that I sell now and actually own. I'm back in the gym business. It's like the Al Pacino movie. I was done with gyms and then pull me back in, like, but I'm so, like, you can tell there's so much joy in my life right now.
Yeah.
And I was actually telling this story to somebody who'd never heard it before. I don't know how, because, you can tell I'm a talker, right? How did this person never hear this story? And I said, I'm eternally grateful for that 5 years of my life. Eternally grateful, because I have something that a lot of this generation doesn't have. Two things. I have perspective, right? When they think they're having a bad day, they're not, right? And I have appreciation.
Yeah.
Like to the small things in life, to be able to be at 10 o'clock in the morning and doing this with you, as opposed to grinding it out in some corporate job that I would have ended up in,
Yeah.
you know?
If
So,
I went back to 46, 47, 48-year-old Rami, how would he have described his goals by age 61? In what language would you have used? Like, my goals are X. What
yeah,
are
so simple. Like, I want to retire when I'm 55. Like, literally, and I was on track. Like, I had all the math worked out, and I wasn't looking for an extravagant lifestyle. I had exactly what it needed to be, and a 4% return on whatever I had in the bank, and then I would just figure out my life from there. But I thinking back that was my goal, it could tell you that I wasn't joyful in what I was doing anymore. By the way, when I started the gym business, loved it. I say, I had a great like 12-year run in the gym business, but unfortunately it lasted 20 years. Right.
Okay.
Guys that say, like, I had a great 5-year marriage. Unfortunately, it lasted 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
that's kind of where it was. But that guy was just, he wanted out, and then I got that opportunity to sell the business, to have that relief. I took a full 3 months off, which I've never taken. I realized before that, the longest I had ever taken off from work was 10 days for my honeymoon.
Wow.
Right. And
Wow.
I took 3 months completely off. My wife was like, "When are you going back to work? Like, we didn't get that much money, I was like, another thing my business mentor did, and this is really, I hope somebody hears this on this podcast. When they do sell a business, you have this big exit event, right? Even if it's enough to retire, but you're not gonna, you're that kind of, like, look at my personality. Like, there's no way I'm stopping. Where would all this go?
Yeah.
My poor
Yeah.
wife, it would drive her crazy, right? Give yourself enough time after you're done. This is what my business mentor said, to get bored. He said, because if you don't do that, you won't have the bandwidth for the next thing.
That's
He
amazing.
said, yeah, he's so friggin' smart. Like, I hope he never listens to this, because his ego's already this big. But
Well, it sounds like
he's a
a
great, yeah,
massive return on $100,000, right? Like, I mean, you
right.
multiple time exit, multiples of that were received in the exit. So
Yeah, by
what
the
an
way, I paid
investment.
that off even before I sold the business. So it wasn't
Yeah.
even a liability when I sold it, right? I paid
Right.
that off in 2 years. It was a piece of cake, because
Yep.
we doubled our business in 1 year,
That's incredible.
Yeah.
What does 61-year-old Rami, almost 61-year-old Rami's goals sound like today? What's the language you use today versus at 47, 48?
That's great. So I really wrap it around changing lives. So, you said that in my intro. I love that that's still there. It's funny that that's wrapped around my books, because that was my reality when I wrote that bio. And it's still part of it, but I consider my books more of a ministry now than they are like changing lives. But they do. I mean, I get comments on them all the time, which is really cool. Now it's about, how many lives can I change in the next, I'm going for 120. I don't know how old you're going for. Like, depending on how good the stem cells get and the peptides and all that, like, if I can feel like this or reasonable facsimile, I'll go 120, 130. So we're looking at, 50 more years, right? How many lives can I change? And that's my career trajectory is really driven by that too. And look, there's no such thing as an unselfish act, right? Mother Teresa said that. My new career trajectory makes more money than my kind of coaching, speaking, all that, right? So, but I know more importantly, I can help more people with what I'm doing. That's the 61-ish year old Rami. My goal is, I got this much time left on earth. How much impact can I have? How many lives can I change? And then we go from there. And if Rami and his family benefit from that, I'm not throwing it away, right?
No. Yeah.
Right? Like, because if I'm financially secure, I'm better. Like, I can grind, I can work when I have no money in the bank. I get that, right? But when I really am flowing is when I have, there's a pastor here in Atlanta named Andy Stanley, and he calls it the buffer. How much better you drive on the road when there's a shoulder versus a cliff. I'm that guy for sure. Like, I don't need to have enough to retire to work well, but just having a nice little, just in case, kind of fund, I'm a better businessman, I'm a better dad, I'm a better husband. So for sure.
How much does your financial security or your financial demise or reset, like you talked about it, how much does that correlate with relational happiness with your wife? How much is finances a factor in you and your wife being in a good place now versus a bad place then?
Oh, I think it's massive. I couldn't put a percentage on it, but I know that, I mean, not to be sexist, but all the studies show, like, men are motivated by, sort of accountability, affirmation, accomplishing things.
Yeah.
And women in general are motivated by safety and security, right? And again, I'm compartmentalizing. There's
No,
people
it's
that are totally different.
100% accurate. I don't,
But
you're not
that's
offending anybody.
research based. Yeah, hopefully not, right?
You're not getting canceled, Rami. That's
thank you.
absolutely accurate.
Not on
Absolutely
this one.
accurate.
Well, if I was going to get canceled, it would have been by now. You should see some of the other podcasts I've done. So,
Hey, everyone. Thanks for listening. I hope you're getting tremendous value. I want to make sure that with this information, you have a way in which you can integrate it into your life. Best way to do that is being a member of any of our Gobundance communities. Just go to Gobundance.com, submit your application. No matter your net worth, we've got the community for you. Back to the show. Well, no, real quick on this point. I want to hear your answer to the question, but it's funny. I did this series on Instagram about quitting your job, and I answered questions. And one of them was, how do I enroll my spouse, my wife, right?
Yes.
And my editor, this was like a month or two ago, my editor sends me these little shorts and clips, and he just sent me like, hey, I took some clips out of that. And I just watched them. I'm like, God, this is exactly what I talked about in there. People ask like, my wife's kind of conservative. Like you said, that's the feminine energy. Feminine energy is security, protect, right? All of that.
And thank God we have it.
Thank
because
God.
we would jump off cliffs without a parachute,
Correct. Masculine energy is I call it akin to like leadership, right? So my basic thesis and how your wife gets on board with your desire to quit a job, make a pivot in your business or whatever, is your ability to display for her how confident you are in what you're able to do and the safety you're creating for her. In other words, if you say to your wife, thinking about quitting my job, like that doesn't feel real good for a woman who wants to make sure there's security. But if you say to your wife, hey, I've built this, I've done this, this is in the bank, this is that, let's fucking go.
Yeah.
I'm following my man if I'm my wife, right? In that regard. That's not sexist. That's just masculine, feminine energy. It works the other way. Like there's some things where you and I demonstrate feminine energy and our wives demonstrate masculine energy in certain situations. But what you just said makes total sense to me. Your wife typically women have the feminine energy in a relationship, and that feminine energy desires security. So I resonate with that completely. But I'll let you finish on the point of
it was interesting. So I'll give you a great story. It just happened 24 hours ago. So I'm part of this franchise system called Alloy, right? This is eventually you're going to see it all over. We're going to have more than Orange Theory, right? Like our goal is 1,000 locations in the next 5 years. Nice. So and she's watched me get involved in this, and then I sell them, and then I take the money. This is what I learned in Gobundance, by the way. I take that and I pour it into ownership, into locations. So then I get horizontal incomes. I take my vertical, convert it to horizontal, right? And never would have known that. Didn't even know what those terms meant till 18 months ago. So I'm 60. I'm still able to learn stuff, right? And so she's watched it, gotten so excited. But guess what? She's bought into one. So she's a coach. She's been a trainer forever. She's fantastic, but she's very risk averse, which is good in our relationship, right? Because I'm not. Yeah. And so yesterday we were talking about it, and she's in that space where when you open a franchise, all you're doing is writing checks. You're not making any money, right? Like the place. Luckily, we have a model that's really quick to be profitable, so that's part of the reason why she wants to do it. But she said something yesterday. She's like, how are you finding the time to do all this? Like, I'm now a part owner in 4 locations. I've got a GoPro wants to open one in California. So I want to help him run it digital, right? So that'll be my 5th. And I just looked at her and I said, have I ever not? And she's like, you're right. She's like, literally, it was like the confidence was there. And she's like, well, where are you? I said, well, my coaching business blew up during COVID, right? So it's great, but that is me trading time for money. And there's only so much I can do. And I really don't want to hire other coaches. That's not where I want to go. So I'm like, look, at this point, I have a small group. By the way, like 50% of them are GoPros, which is so cool, right? Like they're doing nutritional coaching and body transformation with me. Yeah. And that's it. And when one leaves, I don't push to fill that slot anymore. I just keep a waiting list. And she's like, oh, isn't that scary? Because that's set income. And I'm like, honey, it doesn't matter. Haven't I always been able to create something when one thing goes away? And she went, you're right. Like there wasn't even an argument. And that you're right. It's because I didn't say, I don't know what's going to happen when I lower my coaching. And what if I go all in on this Alloy thing? And what do you think, honey? Like that would not inspire confidence, Yeah. Arrogance is different, right? Like we still have to have measured, risk for sure. But I agree with you totally. Like and look, that's built with 31 years of being in this industry and going through the shit I went through, right? And coming out, I went through before that, by the way, we went through 9/11. We went through the recession in 2002. Like,
Oh, 2002, true. Yeah. The .com, right? That was kind of the .com
crash.
Recession.
Yeah, I think that's when it was. But like we went through 2 major recessions, 9/11, then that recession. Then, by the way, this brand, guess when they started this franchise? 2019. So right before COVID. So, and we already been through all that. So anyway.
Battle tested. Do you have any fears with
Yeah.
upcoming recessionary, language or anything? Why not? Why don't you?
No, yeah, it's funny. I do what's called validation calls for the franchise. So basically, if you're in the sales process and you want to buy a franchise, you can meet via Zoom with me, not as a consultant. I'm not trying to sell you anything because you're already in the process. I'm just telling you my experience as a franchisee. And it's 50% of the questions. What about what might be coming? And, which, by the way, it's looking like it's Fred Hubler, I hope you watch this because it's going to be a little softer landing, they're saying now, than they thought it was going to be, but there'll still be something.
A lot of adjustments to that.
Because we've been through so much, and our customer avatar, it's really interesting. So when I went through 2008, right, I had this major range of customers. I didn't have a customer. I had memberships that were $59 a month. This was for like teachers at my kids' elementary school. Like I gave all these deals. I had police officers paying $39 a month, right? And then I had families paying $1,000 a month, right? Wow. Like personal training for them and all their kids. And, the average, so my average was really low. And guess who I lost during the recession? The 39s and the 59s and the 79s. The $400, $500 a month people, I kept all of them because the recession did not affect them the same way. And the analogy I use, think of what I'm selling, the Alloy product, as a Porsche dealership, and think of LA Fitness as a Toyota dealership. Not to disparage Toyotas, but there's a difference in price there, right?
Yeah.
I remember in 2009 driving by Porsche dealerships and they were packed.
Yeah.
And I remember the other car dealerships empty, right? Same thing. LA Fitness got killed in 2008. The $30 a month people, that was money that was food to them, they canceled it. The $300, $400 a month, which is our average cost because we do personal training, we don't do, regular gym membership, didn't get hit. Yeah, get hit.
Talk about this franchise model. What's the name of it again? I'm sorry.
It's called Alloy Personal Training. So think of the metal. So it's basically an alloy is a stronger metal because it's combined. And that's where that's what the kind of the mantra of the company. If we combine as a team, we're stronger than one metal alone.
What's the unique value proposition of this franchise model compared to any other?
Well, we just did an investment call with the CEO last Wednesday, so it's recorded. So if you guys want to learn everything, we have an hour where the CEO went through the whole deal. The biggest difference is we are personal training. We're not Orange Theory. We're not a group of 30 people and not disparaging Orange Theory. It fits a mold. But we are personal training, but we do it in a small group format. So average personal training in Atlanta is $80 to $120 an hour, right? We're $30 to $40 an hour because we do it in a small group, 6 people maximum, and we have really strong programming and technology around that. So when you come in, Jamie, you feel like you're getting one-on-one personal training. We know everything about you. We know your injuries. We know what happened to you last week because it's all in our app, right? And the coach has access to that. And so from a financial and from a customer leaning standpoint, you're getting this great product for less than half of what personal training is. From a business standpoint, you've got a coach with 6 people being paid the same as a coach would be paid with 1 person. So your margins are just so much higher. So as an investment vehicle, and this is what I've been telling the GoPros, it's a really nice kind of hedge against this with real estate. Yeah. We've been this. You're not going to make $1 billion at one alloy, right? A lot of these guys are going to buy multiples, but you're going to be here. Like there's a GoPro coming in August, the beginning of August. And he's a commercial realtor. And he's like, dude, I can go 12 months without a commission and then make $800,000 in a month. He said, that's really hard to manage. It's great. He said, and I'm like, well, wouldn't you rather have like 10 grand a month per location, steady subscription income, nobody's going anywhere? He's like, I'm in. So that's the investment vehicle. And more important to me, getting back to my why, you asked him what's driving 61-year-old Rami. I get to change the lives. Every location I open is going to change well over 1,000 people's lives over its life.
How do you recruit talent in this day and age? How are you recruiting the coaches that are willing to come in and take on the role of training 5, 6 people at a time?
Well, it all starts with the operator that you work on. So basically, it's an incredibly small employment model. So that's really great, right? So 1,500 square foot footprint, so it's small, right? Because it's only 6 people with a coach at a time, so you don't need much. And the whole employment model is 1 operator, 1 full-time coach, and 1 part-time coach. 2.5 people, right?
That's it. Wow.
And a really good one can generate $400,000, $500,000, $600,000 a year in revenue, right? So on that small employment model, so first and foremost, you don't need a lot of people, so that's good.
Yeah.
So you get the operator, and I love this statement. Are you the person you're looking for is looking for? I'm going to say it again. Are you the person you're looking for is looking for? In other words, are you the leader? I know you got to really wrap your head around it. Like, let's do some mushrooms and say that again, right? But is your leader, which is your operator, going to attract the coaches that want to work for that person, right? So all you do, it's not simple, is you find this amazing operator, and then the coaches just show up. We have a great recruitment department. All they do is fitness staffing. So I gave an example on a validation call. When I was running my business, I used Indeed to find people. I would get 100 resumes. You know what a pain in the ass that is?
Yeah.
They get 70 to 100 resumes. They dilute it down to 10. They vet them all. They do background checks. They do all that. They also run psychology tests on them, which is great to see if they fit the role, right? No double D's. You don't need me on the floor. No, we don't need that, right? And then they give you like 5 to 7, and then you choose from them. So like I've already staffed my next one, and we're not opening. Staffing is the fun part to me. Like people are so worried about it, but I'm like, I only need 3 people. And I pay really well, and it's a fun environment. Like as a coach, you just got to show up. We do all the programming, we do all the selling. You just got to show up, look good, have fun, be like a great server in a really high-end restaurant. That's what we look for.
Do what you really love, right? The performance part of.
By the way, 99% of coaches hate selling.
Right.
I was a unicorn. I love selling, right? And that's why I ran a business as opposed to just being a coach. But even a lot of the operators, like one of the things we learned is that some of the alloy operators, they don't even want to sell. So now we have an external sales department. It's like, if you just want to fill your gym, we'll do it for you for a fee. So you literally can open your gym, like 75 members, by the way, in an alloy is cash flow positive. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
You know, it's 5,000 in an LA Fitness, by the way, before you make money, right? We opened our first gym with 108 paying members, 108 people with credit cards on file. By the end of the first month, we had 120, and a full alloy is 130 people.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's a cool model. You're going to buy one by the end of this. That's really what this podcast is about.
I'm thinking about it. Like
let's talk about it later, man.
Move back to Michigan at some point. We'll have to bring one up there. But
there you go.
Let's wrap a couple of things up. I wrote these things down. I just want to make sure I tie them up. So TRT, the one concern is not concern, but one thing that I hear is, okay, once you start, like you're in, and you can't really settle. You can't really come off of that without major health effects. What say you?
It's not true. It is true if you have a condition like hypogonadism where your body is just not making it, and you've done everything naturally. This is super important to tell people. Like I said, I went 2 years of, I did all the research. What's the latest? Like sunlight, sleeping 8 hours a night, literally having sex boosts your testosterone. So I was like, honey, we have to do it, So that was good convincing. And it never moved the needle, right? I went from like 260 to 280, like it didn't move it at all. So in that case, you're 49 years old. Yes. Now you can come off, it'll just come back down, right? And there's drugs like HCG and Clomid that you can take in the interim. This is what bodybuilders do when they come off, because they can't stay on their levels all the time. They'll die, right? I just tell people, like when I did Bulls versus Bears, did you see me when I was on stage with?
I don't remember. I feel like I did. I just remember the excitement of it.
Yeah, for sure. And and he kept talking about your liver's going to explode and your brain's going to leak out of your ears. And I was like, dude, the analogy you're talking about is, I'm talking about 1 glass of red wine a week. You're talking about a gallon of vodka a day, right? So at our levels, and here's the thing, and I kind of push back on that. If I told you had to take omega-3s for the rest of your life to have good cholesterol, to have good brain health, you'd be like, okay, like whatever, like, and it's the same thing, right? If you have a deficit, like say you're a diabetic, oh my gosh, you're going to have to take insulin the rest of your life. Yeah, guess what? The option is you're going to die. So like that's the way I look at it. And by the way, I pushed back on this. I'm a slow adopter to things. And now I'm like, it's so easy. It's not expensive. It's incredibly safe. By the way, the risks of low T for guys our age are way worse than having your T too high. That's something a
Interesting.
lot of people don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just did a massive study. I just sent it to my doctor. He sent it to me, and then I sent it to my GP because GPs don't know anything about this stuff. 6,000 guys over 5 years. And guess what? The people doing testosterone therapy had less cardiovascular events. Less. This was a real study. This was randomized. This was humans, not rats. And great study for, of course, you're never going to see it because, they somehow still demonize it. Yeah.
Now I got to get my labs done and figure this all
Get
out.
them done. Yeah, get them done.
Right.
Yeah, and then we'll do a call for sure. Yeah, I'll go over them with you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. That's the beauty of this podcast and Gobundance, right? You get access to people. I had a GI issue, and there's a GI doc in Gobundance, and man, he's been amazing. It's like, dude, I need to pay you at this point. He's like, no, man, I want to help, whatever. So
did he do a virtual colonoscopy? That'd be a little weird. So did that happen? Yeah.
That's what he called it. Is that not right?
Was a date. I think it was actually a date. Yeah.
No, I had the colonoscope here in the DR, and it was great. Like people were like, oh my God, like, yeah, it's a private hospital. It was great. But I went into Google Translate and literally translated the results over to English and sent them to him. And he went right through it with me and really helped me a lot, which is cool.
That's funny. I've got another client and a GoPro who he did his blood work in Mexico, and we had to convert everything from metric and also all in Spanish. And I sent it to my doctor. He's like, why is this guy doing this? Like, he's a Champions member. He's going to Mexico to save money on blood work. Like, it was really interesting.
Yeah.
But it was great because we got really good blood. He got massive blood work down there and more than, so I thought it was really funny. I was like, I've never had to translate one of these before, but yeah.
Well, I'm looking at, while I'm here, PET scans are cheap. So why not get one proactively?
Do it.
The executive scans, all of that. And like, there's a lab, I'm pointing because it's like across the street over there, like 2 blocks over. There's two labs that I can go into to get all my blood work and everything measured. It's not that expensive. So I'll have to get that
and I'm sure you can get peptides and stem cells and all that a lot easier too, because you're not in the United States. So yeah, it's good stuff.
And a Brazilian butt lift. If I wanted one, I could get that too.
And a Brazilian wax if you need one. We're going off the rails here, but that's what happens,
Well, let's do this because I honestly, dude, no bullshit. I could go another hour with you, but I want to get these questions in with, and maybe we'll do a follow-up episode at some point. But let's turn to the Gobundance questions. We have 6 pillars in Gobundance: authentic relationships, genuine contribution, horizontal income, age-defying health. What am I forgetting?
Bucket list adventures.
Bucket list adventure, and there's one more. Which
contributions? I know. I get 2 of them. One. So
yeah. Which one of those are you crushing it in? Which one of those 6?
I mean, it's funny. I want to add a 7th, which is spiritual. This is one of my goals with Gobundance, right? So I take that and I put it into the 4 Fs. I'm converting it, right?
Hit it. Yeah.
Faith, family, finances, and fitness, right? And kind of in that. And if I'm above an 8 on all those, my life is humming. And right now, I feel like I am. Finances would be like, I know you're going to ask me which one do I need help with. So finances, I'm over a 9 on fitness. I feel great. I've done tons of different things with my body and over the last few years. And so that's great. My faith is super strong and family is great. We got 2 kids in college and marriage. Going from where I was in my marriage, to me, that's one of my biggest accomplishments. Like, I was literally a 2 out of 10 back in 2015, and now we're a 9+, almost. That's all amazing. The time.
Why are finances the low pillar, out of curiosity, with all that we talked about?
Gobundance shined a light on it for sure, right? Like, so joining Gobundance, and I love it. And, I tell people, like, I struggled with comparison issues when I was younger, and I was able to get over them, learn how to just compare myself to myself. And they all came crushing back when I joined Gobundance, right? Because remember, I went to below 0 just, 6 years ago, right? So 7 years ago. So, I'm not where these guys are, right? Like, I did get into Gobundance, so I rebuilt things pretty well. But so I need to, and this is what I'm working on, and this is where my GoPod really helps, is remember to always compare myself to myself. Yeah. So I look at 53-year-old Rami versus 61-year-old Rami, and I'm crushing it in finances, right?
Yeah.
Not complacent, like I've got a lot of big goals, but so it really, Gobundance it's not a negative thing in any way, shape, or form. It's very positive. It's goal-oriented.
I need to
right?
do a better job of that, though. I love what you said. You've learned how to compare yourself to yourself. And
Yeah,
definitely when I joined Gobundance, it was like, holy crap, I don't belong here. These guys are
yeah,
like way ahead of me. But I still forget to look back, like you said, at where was I 5 years ago versus now, and how do I
yeah.
stack up and
Well,
what's in my life and all of that. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, it's like everything else, to me, it's like you don't just get it and it's there forever. It's a muscle that you have to get up and flex every day.
Yeah.
And the days you wake up and you didn't get enough sleep and you're just kind of like down on yourself a little bit, it's gonna be a harder day to flex that muscle, right? So just I do have a morning routine that helps me kind of center that. And it always starts with gratitude. And if you start with gratitude, it's really hard to be grateful and be comparing and upset at the same time, right?
Yeah.
So if
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
find things that you're grateful for, that definitely helps.
I love that. Yeah, I've been doing
Yeah.
a nightly gratitude practice for the last month, and it has been massively different in how I
Yeah.
feel each day. It's incredible. I just write a page. It's whatever, just whatever comes to my
I
mind. I
just
write
do
one
three little
page.
things. Like some mornings, I'm grateful for this cup of coffee. Like it's
Yeah,
not complicated.
yeah,
It's not about what it is. It's the mental paradigm that you're
yeah.
changing, right?
It's the air
That
conditioning, or it's I might be like my little dog might be laying with me, like I'm grateful this little dog snuggling with me right now.
great dinner
Whatever.
with a GoPro that just moved to Atlanta last night with his wife. Like that, I never would have happened if it weren't for
Yeah,
GoBundance. So
yeah.
yeah.
I love it. All right. In what area of your life are you flirting with disaster? I don't know if you already kind of answered that, but
Yeah,
throw.
I don't think, I hate to say this because it's like, inviting in a disaster, but I don't feel like that's a massive term to me. Like if you'd asked me 7 years ago, I had 5 areas, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Or 8 years ago. But, I think I tend to, I'm ready, fire, aim, right? That's my personality. And I just have to be a little bit careful with like, I'll sell an alloy, I'll get this really good commission, and then I immediately pour that into. And I think one of the things I'm learning from GoBundance is yes, that is a great way to be, but also take a little of that and put it over here that, for savings and cash. And I have to be careful because I know that's what I did when we were building up till 2007, 2008. I just kept reinvesting in the business. I lived very
yeah,
frugally, kept growing it. We expanded, then we grew, then we opened a second location. And when 2008 hit, I had a fair amount because I got through the next 4 years, but I didn't have enough. So I would say
yeah.
that would be that if I'm kind of talking it through, I don't really think about it. Probably more cash.
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
think I know the term is big, but I always think of it in those terms. Like, what is like flirting with disaster? It's like that. Like there's a habit I have that if I don't improve upon it, like the day by day habit doesn't improve. It might be like, you know what, I eat ice cream every day. Like that's flirting
Sure.
with disaster to me, right? Like,
Sure.
at a certain point
Sure.
that's going to catch up to you. So,
Yeah.
but no, I
Yeah, I do
appreciate you
that
walking
with,
through that.
yeah, I do that with alcohol, right? You can tell right away, like it's not a shocker. I have a black and white personality, right? We went to Spain and we drank every day. We started at lunchtime and we do go to the beach and we do that. And then since I got back to Spain 3 weeks ago, I haven't had a drop. And
Yeah.
I've just found that works really well for me. I've tried to say I'm going to be in moderation on vacation, and then I'll be in moderation when I get back. And moderation it just doesn't work. It
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
I can keep trying. Maybe when I'm 75, but now like I'm going to go all the way till I'm actually doing a photo shoot with 2 GoPros, which is what
Nice.
I did last year for my 60th birthday. I did a bodybuilding photo shoot, and
Yeah.
I've got 2 GoPros that flying me out to California with our photographer to do a photo shoot in 5 weeks. So I'm doing the cut with them, and I'm doing no drinking with them just to support them. So
I
plus I
love
want to
it.
look better than them on the beach. And
There you
that's not
go.
going to
There
happen.
you
They're
go.
gonna look they're gonna look great.
It's
Yeah.
inspiring. I love your Facebook photo, man. You are
Yeah.
inspiring. So I love what
Thank
you're
you.
doing. I love
Thank
what you're
you.
doing.
Yeah, it's fun.
You've talked about it, but let's see if you have anything different. In what specific way has GoBundance impacted your life?
I mean, I think that the biggest thing, I was actually on a hike this morning with a guy who's super successful. Like, gosh, I want him in GoBundance so much, but he's got a blended family. He's got 6 kids. He's my age, and he's got one that's like 5. And I'm like, I get it.
Wow. Yeah.
You're not traveling too much, and he's super successful. And I said, the thing that GoBundance changed for me is my self-limiting talk was never that I can't be wealthy and successful. Was I associated that with being an asshole. Literally, like almost
Yeah.
everybody I knew was, I'm not being negative on Napa, California, but that was where like these pretentious, like, oh my God, my Mercedes, like I never wanted to get there. So my limiting belief was I couldn't maintain me. At
Wow.
core, I'm a white trash guy from upstate New York. My wife's like, you're simple. And I'm like, is that good or bad? She's like, no, it's really good. Like you could have a steak at Longhorn and wear the same jeans and be as happy as a clam, right?
Yeah.
That's my core. And I always thought if I become a multimillionaire, I'll be with this creme de la creme, and it
Snooty,
changed me. Snooty, yeah, pretentious is the word I use. And GoBundance changed that instantly the first meeting I went to, because these are just mostly self-made guys, salt of the earth. There's
you wouldn't
egos
know.
there for sure, but
Sure,
most of them, hat on sideways, like you would never know that these guys are multimillionaires, some of the wealthiest ones,
yeah, yeah.
And that changed it for me. So now that self-limiting belief is completely gone. In fact, tell you the truth, Jamie, I'm becoming more of my personality the more successful I get financially, because it gives you sort of freedom.
Yeah.
It's like, I would never even talk about it before, because,
like when you were shitting on women before and saying how they're lesser class, right? Like that whole thing. So you're just
you said it was okay. You gave me permission.
Just bringing it
full
circle.
To do that.
That'll be the snippet I put on an Instagram
Shit
reel.
Remember
when you were shitting on women?
Yeah. Women are weak and men are strong. That's what you're going to put there, Oh,
right there,
I've had that.
Okay.
My career, I've been on, I've done TV shows, I've done newspaper articles. Man, have I learned that the hard way. Like, you'll do an hour interview and they're looking for one thing that's going to be a headline grabber. And that's what they put, and you get in so much trouble for it. So
yours, I think, on this one is the reset at 55. Like that. I love the book that you're going to write. I think of Mary Kay. I think of Colonel Sanders. I think of Rodney Dangerfield. I think of all these people who didn't do anything until their 40s, 50s, 60s, right?
People started painting. That woman who started painting in her 70s or something, and it was so prolific. Like, I have these friends who retire and they're doctors, and to me, that sounds miserable. I'm done. I don't have to do anything. I'm like, ew. Like, where's your fulfillment?
There's a very famous violin maker. I gotta honor your time here, but there's a very famous violin maker who made his most famous violin, like that everybody knows about today, but he didn't make it till he was 92 years old, right?
92.
So there's
that Stradivarius.
Yes.
Exactly. How I pulled that out of my butt, I have no idea.
I couldn't remember the name, so thank you.
Everybody has a superpower. Like, Google's the worst thing for me, because I used to have this great superpower that I could remember everything. Like, my kids would ask me questions, and now it's like it means nothing now. We all each could have Googled that, but yeah, I don't have a hard stop at 11. So let's keep talking for 9 hours.
I got Kurt Buchert. I got Kurt Buchert coming on at 11. You know Kurt?
Okay. Well, I do. Yeah.
He's my next episode up. But let's get this one in. What advice would you give to a new or prospective Gobundance member?
Yeah, I actually pre-read that. I love it. So, at the last meeting, a guy stood up. It was his first meeting, and he was super transparent. And he said that, he came down, went to get his badge, saw all these guys, most of them are jacked, they're good looking, they're all this, really confident, and went back up to his room and told his wife, I'm getting a plane, I'm going home. Do you remember that guy saying that? I think it was
I do. I forget who it was.
When you interviewed Tom Bilyeu, I think it was at that.
It was like
the Q&A after. Yep. And his wife said, you belong there, get back down. What a great wife, right? I had the exact same experience. So I was hired. I wasn't even a GoBundance person, to be a speaker and to do the Bulls versus Bears by Pat Hyben, right? That's my introduction. I walked downstairs. They had the room with all the guys in it. They're drinking beer. And I text my wife and I go, this is the most testosterone I've ever seen in a room in my life. How am I going to, convince these guys? And by the way, there was no GoBundance people in there. So I thought everybody was in their 30s.
Yeah.
My advice for a new GoBundance person and for GoBundance, there's got to be something in the onboarding that prepares you for that first moment. Because, by the way, after 3 hours, I loved everybody. And I felt like I belong here, even though financially, like I think I've added 50% to my vertical income since I joined GoBundance, which is like 6 months ago, right? So I feel so much better. More importantly, I feel better because I know the guys. There has to be, you got to push through that moment. That's my advice.
Took me 6 months. Took me 6 months before I even really engaged in my membership. It's been 4+ years now, but
I didn't join. So I came in January to Park City, presented, and I didn't join until November of that year.
Isn't that crazy?
Because I didn't feel like I belonged. It's like, oh my gosh, $12,000. Like, how am I going to get my benefit out of this? And I realized I changed my paradigm on that. And that's another advice I would give. Don't look at what you're going to get. Look at what you can give. What value can you bring to GoBundance? And by the way, you'll get 10x that even without trying.
Dude, dropping one-liners.
I do it all. Yeah, pull it out, man.
Let's
for this, right? You're gonna Venmo me.
Yes. 15, $20.
Steak dinner. Yeah.
It's funny how the universe delivers these card game questions. Given that we're short on time and the topics we discussed, the King of Hearts is asking, describe the next 5 years of your life and your plans in a single sentence.
I'm gonna change 500,000 people's lives. in the next 5 years.
That's
How?
a mic drop. That's a mic drop. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Rami, where can people learn more about you?
CoachRami.com is easiest. And then my thrust now is these franchises. They are amazing, great investments, great way to get into the fitness world and do something different. So there's a section under About Me called Own an Alloy Franchise. You can go there if you're interested in coaching. I do a lot of free coaching. If you just want to have a talk about testosterone, you want to talk about fasting, you want to talk about putting on muscle at age 60, my Calendly is on there, book it. So CoachRami.com, go for it.
It's RAMI. Unbelievable, man.
CoachRami.com.
Yeah, we'll chat more. We're obviously going to talk here soon on this bull bear debate you're going to do for us. So I really appreciate you doing that. But man, appreciate you doing this. Thank you.
My pleasure. Have a great day, Jamie.